Men helping men.
Men helping men. I feel like that's a T-shirt or something.
Yeah,
or,
we
or
should get a T-shirt.
Club.
Okay.
I felt like I should have held your hand when you said that.
No.
Men helping men. We
Never
raise our
mind.
hands up in victory.
Oh, okay, well, maybe that, right.
You know what I mean? It was an inspiring moment, man.
Okay.
We are some men who are helping men. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. This is Men's Compass. I'm John Parker.
And I'm Dr. Daniel David.
And today we're talking about trust the process.
Yes.
If you are a fan of the NBA, as I am, more so than the NFL these days, more so than MLB, although soccer's slowly moving up.
I love soccer.
I do enjoy it.
Go Atlanta United.
Hey, I'm just having to get used to the idea of almost scoring is exciting.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
like
it's exciting.
You don't get excited when somebody airballs a three. You don't get excited when somebody misses a dunk. So transferring the idea of wanting to see a lot of points and a lot of scoring to just near misses, like, oh, you almost made it. Oh, you almost scored. It's a new thing.
We're going to have a debate on that later. Okay.
All right, I don't want to offend anybody. So today we're talking about trusting the process. And so Joel Embiid is a player for the Philadelphia 76ers, and over the years, they've had some trouble when it comes to winning. Like they haven't found a formula for that. So his thing is trust the process, and basically by trust the process, we're like, hey, we're going to get draft picks, we're going to get guys on the team that are willing to play, that want to be here, and have bright futures. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, as people, we're so results driven that we don't focus on the process. We don't look at the how we're doing things. We're just looking at what the outcome that we want. Mm-hmm. And today we want to talk about, guys, how do you become people that are more focused on the process, that are more focused on the how, and not so solely focused on the desired outcome, the what it is that you're trying to do. Right. What do you feel is a concern that you have for guys not being aware of the how, the process, and just being so results driven, so narrowly focused on that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of guys just get, they want to cross the finish line, mm-hmm. and they don't really care how they do it. There's a lot of bad psychology out mm-hmm. there among men's psychology, mm-hmm. so-called men's psychology, about being a tough guy and about mm-hmm. being a macho guy and mm-hmm. all this stuff that I see on YouTube and other channels. It's just, it's bothersome because it's never about being a quality man. It's more about, being successful, being on top, being dominant. Mm-hmm. And in reality, too much of life is wasted just trying to catch goals and cross finish lines, and because we're willing to run over people, to get there. And I think that's really just unhealthy for men in general, to have that sort of attitude.
Yeah.
We see that in the corporate world a lot too. It's like, let's think about the profit, let's not think about people, right? So it's all a problem in our society.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're saying is brilliant, because that's where you come up with the phrases people over profits and different things of that nature, right? Because we've gotten to this point in capitalism where I guess maybe it stems from trickle-down theory, and it's not a shot at trickle-down theory, but just the idea that we're so worried about making money, or we're so worried about our businesses being successful, we believe if we just, pour all this into the resources go to, like, I'm trying to be political, right? So right. The resources go into just kind of like the final product, that we don't care about how the product gets made, all right? We don't care about the assembly line for the sake of getting the cars made, or, whatever the case may be. And that's not a winning formula for a healthy man, right? It may, in a sense, get products made and work may get done. But if you're like, hey, y'all just gonna work 7 days a week for the next 24 hours, or 7 days a week for the next month to get a product done, you're gonna have unhappy employees. People are gonna pass out. They're gonna possibly die. They're gonna be overworked and stressed because you have a bottom line that you're trying to meet. And we can't treat people like that, right? And that's not how we should do things. And so what we mean by trusting the process is understanding that the outcome is good and it's what you want to get done, but it's how you get to that outcome that makes things important, that makes life important, that makes life worth living. We're thinking about like obituary stuff, right? How do you want people to remember you?
Absolutely.
What life do you want to live so that at the end of it, somebody's like, yo, that Daniel P. David, that guy, he was an awesome dude.
Well, I talk to men about this all the time. It's really about how we want people to experience us. Mm-hmm. We don't really put a lot of thought into it. We tend to go around life and just live life as it comes, rather than actually thinking about what do I want, how do I want people to experience me, and what do I want to, what sort of impressions do I want to make on people, and I think that we're talking about what it means to be a man, and on one level, and then also our experiences with others and their experiences with us.
Yeah. I think the key point is that you mentioned when we were kind of prepping for the show. It's like it's the journey, not the destination. Right. It's the how we do things, not what it is that we're doing. And it's a shift that has to happen in the culture in order for people to understand that people matter, right? And it's not class. It's not a what's the system in India? The
caste system.
It's not a caste system, right? Like caste systems, they're just not fun. You know what I'm saying? To say, and I shout out to India. One day I want to go, but I don't want no trouble when I get to the border. I'm just saying that as Americans, we value kind of the people being a part of the process and everybody being equal and treated equal in some places.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we can get caught up in ways of thinking that where the journey and what we're doing isn't as important as the destination. So I kind of want to talk through like, hey, how do we interact with each other, right? In interactions with people, what are the ways that we should be doing, how we should be living life, how we should be, I don't want to give too much away before we get into it, but just like, what does that look like? How we interact? Why is it important to interact with people in a way that shows that we care about the how we do things? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, getting away from performance-based behavior, which is, what we tend to hear in society is that it's the performance. It's about the quality of the relationship. I've often said that it's important to collect memories. Well, people have memories of us, right?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be the guy who's rude at the grocery counter, or cutting people off in traffic, well, people in traffic, they may not think, well, they don't know me, but it does show what type of character we are. It does show our quality. If we're spouting off to our wives or to people, and we're kind of a bully, then people remember that. And they may deal with us once or twice, but they won't want to deal with us for the rest of their lives, right? So I think it's just important to say, I want people to experience me as a compassionate, loving, caring individual. That's sort of where I'm at in my own life, is that I want people to feel me as a person who really cares, or listens and interacts with what's really important for them, not just for me. So it's the quality of being that we really want to project out, and I think that it's important for men to really pay attention to their quality as a person, not just the exterior, or the performance, but the quality of the person. So slowing down the process is really important, because we really have to think through our words, our actions, our behaviors, right?
And that's so important, because I think about the times where, as a therapist, right, I'm coming to the office, I'm rushing the traffic or whatever, and then I think like, oh shoot, what if this person I just cut off for honk that had said something crazy is about to be my new patient?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that would be so embarrassing to be like, yo, this dude I just flipped off is now in the lobby waiting for me to come help them with their life, right? And I'm just like, not that I do that, right? Of course I don't flip people off while I'm driving, but the idea that, hey, the person that you talk slick to in the grocery store, or the person that, or even like that in a parking lot, like we're fighting over this parking space, you're saying things you don't really mean, but then they end up being in front of you in the line, or it's some old lady getting out of the car and like, oh man, I wish I hadn't honked and said these crazy things to this old lady. If I had known she was an old lady, you know what I mean, I might not have done that, right? And so it's just like, it's about, man, knowing that there's going to be consequences, repercussions to the things that we say and do, and thinking through about slowing down, right, the process, right, thinking about the journey, is that sometimes biting your tongue, being calm, stopping thinking, being rational is what it takes in order to get to your destination well, right? But if you're always in destination mode and it's not about anybody else, or not, who cares about what else is going around or going on around you, you just got to get to your destination. When you get to your destination, you may find out like, oh shoot, I've either burnt some bridges, or crossed some people, or said some things I shouldn't have, and now you're not going to enjoy your destination as much, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that as we think through, for the sake of not beating a dead horse, right? For the sake of understanding, like, how can we be men that display qualities of a person who is thinking about trusting the process, that's thinking about, hey, it's about how I do things, not what I do. When we're thinking about how do we become a man who enjoys the journey so that the destination is well, what do you think are some qualities that guys can display or exhibit to kind of examine whether or not they're trusting the process, that they're enjoying the journey, that they're understanding the how they do things?
Well, there's a boatload of qualities that men can really exhibit in their lives. It's probably a good exercise for men to sit down and write down the qualities that they want to integrate into their lives, and then actually act out or behave.
Work towards those things. Integrate them into their daily life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So in my own life, I'd like to have more integrity, or let's say maybe I want to be more honest. If some guy is working on being honest with his friends or family members, then we integrate those qualities into ourselves, and we say, okay, I'm going to practice being more honest. I'm going to practice being more polite. I'm going to practice being kinder to people and kind to myself. And I might practice, being thoughtful, and let me slow down and let me pay attention to people, pay attention to, what's happening around me. So these are things that we can do just to change up our lives a little bit, and to have a better interaction with people, rather than just rushing to the goal. I'm from New York, right? And you know how New Yorkers walk.
I just left New York, and
I
almost got run over.
Right, you will get run over.
I gotta get in line.
You will get run over. Yeah. When I grew up in the Midwest, everybody, when you stopped at a stoplight, or stop sign, you let people go. You wave at everybody. When I first, at 18 years old, went to New York City, I couldn't understand why people were honking at me, because I was letting everyone go in front of me, right? So you get that.
The whole city would be moving in front of you,
and I'm holding the other half of the city up, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
So so when I came to Atlanta, my friends would say, "Where's the fire? Why are you walking so fast?"
Oh my gosh, Atlanta's so
slow, and but I've learned to slow life down.
Yeah.
And so people don't experience me as a harsh, abrasive individual. They actually, I hope, experience me as a kind and thoughtful person, and polite most of the time, right? So it's important to really think about how I want to live my life and what qualities I want to exhibit in my life.
Yeah. And I think that, compassion and acceptance and things of that nature, we can go through the whole list of these things, are important. But one thing that people often fail to do or to think through is that you have to see people with dignity. You have to see people as not as others, as we've talked about on other podcasts, but you have to see people as individuals who have feelings, who are important, who have value, who have meaning. And once you start to see people like that, you would treat them differently, right? You can start living by the golden rule, or sometimes the platinum rule, or whatever rule you want to go by. But the idea is that, man, if you don't see people as having worth, as having value, there's no way that you're going to be able to have a good journey. There's no way that you're going to be able to focus on the how you do things, right? Because they don't matter. They're just numbers. They're just people that are in your way. They're just peons. They're just your subordinates. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand that everybody has a place in this world, and you have to treat them as such. And I think that we just miss that oftentimes, because we just don't live in a culture where people matter sometimes, right? We're not in a caste system, but people get neglected every day. You walk by people, you don't see them, they don't have human dignity, they don't have value, they don't have worth. And that's how you can have a system like human trafficking existing, like Super Bowl's coming up, right? And it's just like, man, people are just worried about, the game, and don't realize every year that there's a Super Bowl, human trafficking increases in that city that the Super Bowl is happening, because people, I guess, want to have sex when they watch their football. Or I don't know what that looks like.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And, but because people are like, yo, the destination, we're getting to the game, we just want to see the game. We don't, and not that everybody has to worry about certain things, but there are things that are happening, right? And if we see people's worth and see people's dignity, and we understand how the world works, we'll be more in tune and more enlightened about processes and what's going on. I guess that was a random.
No, it's good actually, because we don't realize it, but we treat people how we treat ourselves on some aspect, on some level of our lives, and so it's important, if we're going to really exhibit the qualities of a good man, it's important to treat ourselves well too, you know, absolutely. And to take care of ourselves and be more thoughtful of our own needs. And that's going to help us to be then thoughtful of others' needs, because when we take care of ourselves, we know what it feels like, and we know that it's a good thing to share and care for others as well then, right?
Yeah. And so what we'll do as we wrap up, we'll just give you 3 points to consider, 3 things to kind of ponder on, to chew on, to kind of see and understand if you are living a life where the journey is important, living a life where the how is important. And the first thing is just being mindful of how we come across to others and how they experience us. Like, it's a very intentional thing. It's just not a happenstance. It's just not a, well, you know, if I'm polite today, I'm polite today. But really, 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 really being mindful and making sure that you are on purpose, being courteous, being polite, being professional, doing all these different things.
One good exercise that I would encourage you guys to do is to sit down and really think about, how do you want other people to experience you? And mindfulness is a type of paying attention and being in the moment. And so you may want to write down those qualities. You know, if you want to be experienced as a more understanding person, then you know, you write that down. And you write down, if you want to be experienced as a more honest or trustworthy person, because you are honest, then write those qualities down. If you want to, you know, have more courage in your life and deal with, you know, face your fears, then you write those qualities down. Just create a list for yourself, and then come back to it from time to time and fine tune it. You know, add more characters or characteristics or qualities that you want. You know, that's one exercise that I give men.
And I think that's the important second point, right? Is in making sure that you know and understand the qualities that you're trying to exhibit. Right. So as first, we have to be mindful. Second, we have to actually display the qualities, right? So that's taking note, making sure that you're writing them down and checking them off as you go. And it's not just a check off like, this week I was kind, but now I live a life of being kind, right? And I think the third thing is checking in with friends and family and asking them how you're treating them, how you're living, what qualities they think you should brush up on, or which ones you're doing well. That way you'll have a check-in. You have some accountability.
You know, feedback's really important. And when we don't get enough feedback from our family or friends about how they experience us, we may be, you know, not realizing it hurting them, or you know, causing them some sort of anxiety or you know, stress. And so it's important to say, hey, you know, how have you experienced me? You know, and do you think there's anything I need to work on in my own life? I think that sort of honesty is important. So, you know, feedback is something that I encourage guys to do all the time.
And feedback's necessary, man. We downplay the need for feedback and how well it does, but if we don't have a meter or a measure of how we're doing, we'll be less likely to continue doing things. You know what I mean? Like, we need to know. I mean, that's people. You know, we're driven by that feedback. And that's why there's, you know, like buttons, and that's why there's subscribe buttons, and that's why there's all these different things, and comments, although those can be toxic, but people want to know what's going on and how we can improve and what we need to be doing different. And don't take it personal. Like, if someone says, hey man, you're not very sweet, you're not very compassionate, you're not very kind, you know, especially when it comes from a loved one or a spouse or something like that, we kind of get in our feelings. But this process is about making you more open to experiencing life and understanding that, hey, I need to do things differently because people around me aren't having a good experience with me. So you can't be in your feelings. It may sting a little bit. It may make you feel a certain way, but the goal is to be a better guy. And I think this is, you know, how we start that process. All right. Well, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Today was about trusting the process. It was about enjoying the journey, not being so worried about the destination, and being somebody that is known for how they did things, and you know, you were polite, you were nice. It's obituary living. You want to make sure that you don't live with your obituary in mind, but you kind of do. You know what I mean? You want to be mindful of how people are going to view you, and not be caught up in appearances, and not be caught up in
this isn't people pleasing.
Right. Not by any means.
No. This is about really having people experience us, being authentic to ourselves and to others, being honest with ourselves. And, you know, I often ask guys to really think about this sort of thing. It's an important mental health issue. For sure. All right, well, we appreciate you guys for watching. Please rate us, like us, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend, check out our website of mensandmen.com.
and give us some feedback, since we like feedback.
Right. Yes, we need feedback.
We definitely need feedback, and we would love some ideas on
constructive criticism.
Constructive. There you go. I won't be in my feelings. Right. You might get blocked, but I love you. I still appreciate you.
We'll block you in love.
Yeah, all right, that's it. So just to help you to be better. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm John Parker.
And I'm Dr. Daniel David.
And this has been another episode of Men's Compass. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.